Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to today. As you can tell probably from my accent, I'm not from Spain. I'm actually lived very close to London, and in the UK, it's coming into autumn, and so it's cloudy, it's quite cold, and it's raining, and I thought, great, Madrid, October, Playa Mayor, if I pronounce that right, tapas, red wine, sun, and here I am, and we've brought the UK weather to Madrid. So I'm still looking forward to it. It's a pleasure to be invited by Elia to be part and parcel of your day here today. And as in the introduction, my name's Babayode. I'm MD for EMEA for the Mobile Marketing Association. The Mobile Marketing Association is a non-profit trade association, and we are laser focused on a mission to accelerate the transformation and innovation of marketing through mobile, putting mobile really at the center of what we do. So with that being said, you'll have heard today, and I'm sure you'll hear later today, about all the consumer engagement with mobile devices that we currently see in the marketplace, and whatever the stats may be, there is this enormous amount of engagement, but there's a real question about what do I do, how do I make this work for me? And in mobile, we see what is effectively this brand opportunity, this huge engagement, many minutes, hours, days, interaction, apps, email on mobile devices. And we believe it's the closest you can get. The mobile is the closest consumers can get to brands. But really, how does that turn into a media opportunity? How does that turn into advertising and marketing, which really has a major business effect for you within the mobile ecosystem? And I get asked this question very, very regularly, very regularly. It's like, Chris, I know all this, but how can I make money? How can I make a business? How much should I spend in mobile? So my next 20 minutes or so is really to help answer that question. We've got some research which is proprietary to the MMA, which I'd love to share with you today, because it is really a key piece of information. I'm sure all of you somewhere have a CFO, a CEO, part of your team, all looking for answers, measurements. How do I know it's going to work? How much should I be spending? Because measurement becomes really, really important. It's not great having nice devices and whizzy and great creative and great engagement and stats on click-throughs and everything else. Ultimately, measurement is key, and what does this mean to my business? And let me just give you a for instance as to why measurement is key.
Yeah, no worries. People often come back from Wales with those sort of marks. Right, now I just need to take your blood pressure.
Okay.
Ah, yes, 135/85. Or might be lower, 120/60. Yeah, something like that. Nothing to worry about, probably.
Shouldn't you use the squeezy pumping machine?
No, I never do. This method is proven to put me exactly in the sort of area where I need to be, getting the sort of numbers I'd like to hear.
Great.
Would you like me to take another reading?
Yes, please.
Put your mind at rest.
That would be good.
Yeah, you see, I'm getting almost the same reading there.
Right, okay.
I mean, if we average out the two.
Is there no way to be more specific?
Would it help if I were to perhaps take a temperature?
Okay.
98.6. Approximately.
So the thing I like from there gets me in the area and the region that I need to be in order to, et cetera, et cetera. So what we've done at the MMA is that we have this proprietary research we call SMoX. You can read on the screen what it actually means. It's a bit of a mouthful. So I invited a number of our members, and Greg Stewart, who's the CEO of the MMA, I invited Greg to say a few words about the history and how this research came about. And then after he's shared that with you, I'm just going to spend a few minutes to take you through very high level the results of the campaigns that we've actually ran over the last year or two. Greg obviously couldn't be here today. He would have loved to have been here, but he did this piece for us anyway. If we could have some volume.
Me if I could take some time to kind of introduce one of the biggest initiatives that the MMA has taken on to date, our SMoX project. SMoX is SMoX and stands for Smart Mobile Cross Marketing Effectiveness Studies. And so I thought, let me just kind of ad hoc. I usually have a whole bunch of slides behind me when I do that, as I don't have here. So I'll just do my best to kind of explain the project to you and give you some background. And hopefully if that's helpful, then great. If you're interested in talking more, there's more both on the MMA website. We've also had a series of journal articles that have been published, are still being published around it. Some news on it, but or write us and we'll send you sort of the latest information. Basically, SMoX set out about 4 years ago to really assess the return on investment, the real value of mobile in a marketing mix in a way that marketers to date hadn't been able to measure that. In fact, today, I'm not aware of anybody who provides a really solid solution for measuring mobile and all of mobile's elements, and I'll explain that sort of more in a moment. But we realized there was a niche in the marketplace, and that while there's been this huge consumer transformation, that we might not really totally understand what does that mean in terms of how we should reallocate mix. And if you have a real background in media, or especially media mix modeling, I would certainly understand that one of the greatest returns on investment you can get out of your marketing budget is really getting that mix just right that is attuned to consumers' own media habits. So, nonetheless, we raised a couple of $1 million a few years ago. We identified a series of marketer partners and research partner in particular, including also then other associations here like the Advertising Research Foundation, to really validate some of our work. We built a methodology and invited marketers to participate. And so far we've done studies now with Coca-Cola, MasterCard, AT&T, Walmart, and Unilever. We've done studies also in 4 countries total. Most of those studies were done in the US, but we've also done a study in China, Brazil, and then more recently in the UK. Now, the reason this research is important is just what I said, is that if you don't really understand what is the real effectiveness relative to its price and the reach of a channel, then it's very hard for a marketer to kind of lean into that on a competitive advantage. You know, at some level we all get that mobile is there. I assume we all accept that mobile creativity works and is effective in driving both brand goals and then also sales goals. But how effective is it? And if we lean in or can lean in more aggressively, can we pick up even a greater return? So as I mentioned now, we've done a total of 9 studies in 4 different countries with 5 brands. And the short story about what we found so far is that for the most part, even around the world, all the 4 countries I mentioned, but I've got more pattern recognition in US, given that most of the studies were done there. We've actually found that a marketer should be spending between 15 and 20% of their total marketing budget. And just to be clear about that, that's not of just digital, that's 15, 20% of the overall TV, radio, magazines budget. So that's a pretty big shift from where marketers, at least we find in most parts of the world, 3 to 5%, maybe 6%. And so that's a big deal. You know, that gives guidance marketers really where they can go.
So 15 to 20%, you've heard the sort of summary before. I've sort of shown you some of those, which is a significant number. So let me take you through the specifics on just 3 campaigns that we've run. And what we did within this, and I can talk to people, you know, after this if they'd like to talk about the research methodology, etc. But the real measure of success that we had here were what we refer to as marketer KPIs. It's less about the media metrics. It's very much more about at the top end of the funnel being brand awareness, how did it shift, or image intent, or foot traffic, or ultimately sales. And a number of companies that worked with us, because they know their cost of sales, they know their profitability, they were able to share the difference in profitability from what we did. So they were the key measures that we had. And as I say, let me take you through 3 different campaigns here. The first one is MasterCard. I'm sure we're all familiar with MasterCard. It's a credit card. It had a particular campaign in the US last year where it was wanting to associate the card with travel, going on holiday, taking some time, you know, a great card to use when traveling. Its key metric from a KPI marketer perspective was around, you know, that image association. It used television, digital, social, print, a whole array of different media, and we also had mobile on the campaign in order to measure its effectiveness. I'm going to share the video that was used for the campaign, so you get a sense of the you'll get a sense of the sort of how it was positioning itself. And you know, and there's a couple. I've shown this a few times. It always makes me smile when there's a little girl doing a sort of a number count in here, which I always.
We've heard that over 400 million vacation days go unused every year.
Really? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
That makes me mad.
They're paid vacation days.
That's messed up. We're sure you have your excuses, but our reasons for wanting to travel are better.
Word.
If you guys agree to travel more, we'll all do better in school.
There have been studies. We'll have a better understanding of other cultures.
I will learn to parler français.
Oui, oui.
I want to see the sun. I want to see the mountains.
New York, France,
I want to see the forest.
New Jersey. I need vitamin D.
Vacation. We're not asking for much. We just want one more day.
One more day. One more day.
Just a day.
Pledge to take one more day of vacation and make the most of it with MasterCard.
Because one more day is priceless.
Okay, so you can see how it's positioning itself to really get associated with holidays and the like. So here's the results from that particular campaign. If that campaign had been optimized with mobile advertising across the whole of the campaign to its optimum, the mobile share would have been 8% of total marketing budget. Again, not just of digital, of the total marketing budget that they spent. And they would have seen an uplift in KPIs of 7%, 7 percentage points, against that image association brand. The next one was Coca-Cola, and this happened in the UK. As you can tell, that one was in the US. So in Coca-Cola, they had a happiness campaign towards the end of 2015, a target market of 16 to 29-year-olds. And again, because they were able to share their profitability with us through this study, we were able to assess what would happen to the sales of the product, or what would have happened, to be more precise, to the sales of the product of Coca-Cola in the UK if mobile's share had been optimized as outlined within the research that we did. And again, I've just got a small, short video to share with you here to see where they were positioning you. I would challenge each and every one of you not to smile when you see this. It is a happiness campaign.
Before you learn to speak, before you learn to write, before you learn to tweet, and before you learn to fight, before you grow up, it'll be a while. But before you learn anything, you learn to smile. Before you learn to doubt, before you learn to shame, before you learn to pout, and before you crave the fame, before you grow up, it'll be a while. But before you learn anything, you learn to smile.
Okay, I think there must be something in psychology there, is to make people smile, bring babies on board. So anyway, 11% was the optimum allocation to that campaign, to mobile, of total marketing. And that would have delivered a 10% increase in profit. And we tried to get out of Coca-Cola sort of, you know, how many cans and how many bottles would that be? And we got a sense it would be somewhere between, if you laid them, you know, end to end between sort of London and the base of the Alps, that's the number of extra cans that they would have sold of that. So it's, again, a hugely significant number. And then the last campaign I'm going to share with you is a Unilever brand, Magnum Ice Cream. I'm sure it's available here. They were trying to do two things. Again, profitability, they were aware of their cost of sales and therefore able to share their profitability/sales with us, but they were also trying to build some awareness into the campaign. Women, 25-64 was the core target market, and as you can see there, again, TV, print, desktop, a whole array of different media. I don't have their ad here, but I'm sure it would have been lovely with all that ice cream and dripping chocolate and everything else. But let me share with you the results. So the optimum allocation for this particular brand would have been 15% of total marketing, not just digital, and that would have increased profit by 9%. And this was run again in the US. So you can see when Greg talks about, and what the MMA talks about this proprietary research, there really is an opportunity to take all this brand engagement, all this consumer engagement rather, through mobile devices, and really turn them into business marketing metrics, not just into media. But talking about media, what we've also done within these campaigns is worked on The things that those of you here in the room no doubt work on each day, media and placements and everything else. And we found there are 4 best practices that will help enhance any particular digital/mobile campaign. Yeah, I'm sure some of you are aware of them, but whether it's the format, the type, the size, whether it's location targeting, adding maps, giving a call to action, whether it's targeting by time of day or demographic, or whether it's testing creative. If you've got the budget and can test 2 or 3 different creatives and then use the one that works best in terms of those metrics, then by all means do. So we have these 4 ways, if you like, in order to make mobile work harder. And so what we were able to do with the research when we were running those 3 campaigns is that in real time, during the campaign, as we were seeing which particular channels were working, is it social, is it mobile video, is it messaging, interstitials, is it targeting with location, we were able to overlay into the campaign these particular set of best practices in order to try and optimize the campaigns in real time. And then from then, we were able to extrapolate what was the effect in the case of MasterCard on the image association, in the case of Coca-Cola and Unilever, what would have been the effect on sales. Okay, just to be clear, we haven't said that Coca-Cola and Unilever or MasterCard sold more particularly, because what we were doing was we were working with the campaign in real time and extrapolating what would have happened with mobile's increase. So if you can remember the lovely campaign of the kids wanting more vacation or holiday time for MasterCard, what we found there is that the optimum share would have gone from 8 to 12%. And those extra 4 percentage points of share would actually have risen and driven, rather, the rise in image association up to 17%. If you recall, before it was 7%. I know I'm doing a lot of numbers here and everything else, but this presentation, through ELEA and the MMA here in Spain, you will be able to get access to it. So if I'm either speaking a bit too quickly or the numbers are like, oh God, I've got so many numbers here, don't worry, you can get a copy of the presentation. So that's what happened with MasterCard. The smiling babies and our friends at Coca-Cola. So what happened there? It would have gone from 11% share of total marketing spend up to 15%. And I purposely did this slide to show how big the rise was in 25%. So 25% increase in profit would have happened on that particular campaign. And again, at Unilever and ice cream, the optimum would have been 17%, and that would have got profit up to 13%. So they're significant and large numbers. That being said, if I boil it down to one chart or a couple of words, our belief from the MMA, through our global studies, through our US, Brazil, UK, China studies, we believe can be extrapolated to any brand in any country. So we believe that double-digit investment is the number. In this particular instance, it's 12 to 20% in what we've seen there. We believe the brand metrics can move, as you can see there, up to about 17% more. And if sales and profit are measured, you can get an increase of 7 to 16%. But the key takeaway really is double-digit increase. So bringing all that together, there are 2 elements at work here. We've been talking, this SMoX research is very much about, if you like, the physics of media, what do you do in the campaign, how do you optimize mobile to make it work. The second bit, which is hugely important, and I think, this is maybe a little bit of an ad, but this is where the MMA comes in, because it's all very well hearing about this and understanding this, but what do I do? How do I educate myself, my team? How do I test and learn? What do I do in order to build capabilities? And it's beholden on me to say that obviously that's where the MMA Spain comes in, because if you want to help or build your team's capabilities or your own, you want to look at mobile creativity and get inspired by what we can do there. And I know Millward Brown are coming on shortly to showcase what's happening within that. And if you want to be able to demonstrate the measurement and impact, then the MMA, both globally and here in Spain, are here and more than happy to do that for you. So my last takeaway is 2 things. One, it's double-digit in investment, and it can deliver significant return. But being able to measure campaigns, being able to measure and get results, which you can then talk to your team about, your CFO, your CEO, your agency, and other vendors becomes hugely important, because if you don't get measurement into your lives, then things like this happen.
What was my time?
It was just under 3 hours.
Yes.
Or just over. Call it 4:10. Well, maybe. Something like that, in that sort of ballpark anyway. Well done.
Sorry, can I get an accurate time?
Well, we could call it 4:9.375 if you like.
I've just run 26.2 miles. I've trained for 6 months to this. Do you not have an accurate time?
Well, what time would you like it to be then?
Well, I need it for under 3 hours, but I would like an accurate time.
Well, that's right, I can do under 3 hours. I can do you 3:02. Well, yeah, split difference, 3.35. 3.32.
Okay, so apologies about that. I think one, it was in English, and two, it wasn't quite synced, so you're not losing your minds. Unfortunately, it wasn't as synced as well as it can be. But anyway, that being said, that's me. My time's done, so thank you very much for listening. I'm around today if people want to ask questions and get into the detail. But as I say, I very much am, irrespective of the weather, enjoying my time in Madrid, and thank you very much for having me.